I want goats. Goats are cool.
Well, you have to pass the tests for goats.
What kind of tests are there for goats?
The first test is, if you come home from work after a really long day, and all you want to do is eat dinner and go to bed because you are so completely done, and instead the goats meet you in your parking space and then promptly jump on your car, and you discover that the reason that they're in your parking space is because they've taken down 50 feet of fencing that you now have to put back up. Are you going to be mad, or are you going to think it's funny?
Is it the first time or the 5th time that the goats have done this?
Doesn't matter. It can be the 100th time.
So goats can be a pain in the behind.
For the wrong person, they are horrible.
Yeah.
And they will. I mean, this stretch of fence between that post there, and I had it going almost all the way to the garage last summer, they took that whole stretch down while I was gone. And I drove in and literally was like,
just like barreling into it, like kind of
she can knock down just about anything she wants to if she really decides to. She usually doesn't. She's very well behaved as a general rule. But every now and then she decides she doesn't want to stay in.
We're breaking free, guys!
Yep. And so they'll just take down fencing, and you can't do anything. You can't eat, you can't go to sleep, you can't do anything until the fence is put back together again.
Put your goats back in.
So that's the first test. If you can't pass that test, you can't have goats.
What's the second test?
Second test is you have to prove that you actually know what you're doing. You have to have some idea what you're doing. So things like, I always recommend that everybody that gets goats for the first time should always have at least 3 goats.
3 goats.
A lot of people say 2, I say 3. Goats cannot live alone. If you have one goat living alone, well, I should...
Very unhappy goat.
There are very few exceptions.
Goat
there
depression,
are some.
like...
No, they get anxious. And they actually will bond to you too strongly, and then when you try to leave them outside, they won't deal well with that. I've known of goats that have like broken legs trying to get out of enclosures to get to their owners because their herd is in the house, not out in the barn. So they need to have somebody to bond with. They have to have a herd. They have to have a herd
as a goat.
And then a lot of times people will get 2 goats, and they'll think that that's fine.
Yeah.
And it is. But what happens if something happens to one of those goats? Then you have an alone goat again. You just destroyed
half a herd, too. So it's a very sad goat.
So, yeah, exactly. So I always recommend 3 goats, so that if something happens to 1 goat, you still have 2 goats, and you can bring in a 3rd one, and keep on moving that way.
So if I had a family dog, will a goat herd incorporate other species into their herd? Like, can they bond with other animals?
Not as well. I've heard of, a single goat living with sheep. But sheep don't play like goats do. Goats are roughhousers. They like to headbutt. Sheep don't do that.
They're not about that game.
And then, goats will sometimes be okay with horses. But again, horses are like, what are you doing, dude? And the goats are like, we gotta play! So it really, they need to be able to interact in a goaty way.
The ruckus causers of the farm.
They really, really are. They're ridiculous and adorable. And they need to be able to roughhouse. They need to be able to run and jump and kick and be ridiculous. They love playing King of the Mountain. They want to be able to climb up somewhere and push somebody else off. That is one of the best things that a goat can do. And nobody else joins in on those games, Right. Everybody else either gets scared or looks at them like they're crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So they really need another goat to bond with and to spend their time with. Are you licking my sweatshirt? 3rd rule for goats is you have to build a fence that is appropriate.
Build a fence that is appropriate. and define appropriate fence for a goat.
Well, the general rule of thumb for a fence is if you can throw water through the fence, then a goat can get through. But of course, that's not very realistic. So, the best thing would be seriously a 6-foot-high solid fence. But that's not going to happen for most of us. So a lot of people make the mistake of getting just welded wire or woven wire. Goats can take those down in no time flat. So what I've done here, my favorite kind of fencing is this small area has cattle panel. And I really like having the cattle panel. They can theoretically take it down, but they really have to work at it.
Right, yeah.
And what I've done when I was first introducing them to it is I did put some electric strands on the inside to try to teach them a little bit of caution. That'll get taken down this summer because it's not needed anymore. And then the rest of my fencing, because I can't yet afford cattle panel all the way around, I did do woven wire. Woven wire with electric wire inside. You have to train your goats to electric wire, though. You can't just
so similar to like the wireless dog collars. Your dog finally is just like, okay, I'm not playing with this anymore.
Yeah,
they leave it alone.